Hello, and welcome to Finsweet Live Community Day. Today we are here with Kevin Levine, who is an HR professional with 18 years in the hotel industry and who has been learning no-code tools as a hobby. With no designer development training, Kevin stalks YouTube and community forums as a way to combine his expertise in empathy with his Webflow skills to help local and small businesses build their online presence. I love that description. How you doing, Kevin? What's up? Welcome.
Thank you. I'm feeling good. I'm excited to be here. I feel like I've watched you enough on YouTube that I know you just a little bit.
That's great. Nice. Well, I don't know you too much, so I'm really excited to learn more about you and understand your journey. Big career change, hotel industry to now no code. That's huge. So I'm excited to learn more about that. Before we do that, let's get into the hellos. Who do we have here in the chat? If you're here, say hello. What's up, Magdalena? Hello, hello. We have Dale Jensen. What's up? How's it going? John Matthias. Hello, hello. We have Penny in the house. What's up? Looking forward to get to know Kevin. Great, me too. John Saxton. What's up? What's up? Hello. Nice. Okay, great. That's it for the hellos, and let's now move forward. So, Kevin, let's start this story. Please tell me, how did you get here? What do you consider your professional story from the beginning of your professional career until today? That's a great way for people to get to know you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm still in the hotel industry. I've been with Hyatt Hotels for 18 years now, and a couple of years ago, I stumbled into the no-code world, and the path is very indirect, as you can imagine, from human resources to making websites. So, as a sort of a bullet point of a timeline, at some point, from a human resources standpoint, I was helping support multiple hotels in New York City, and just the way we documented everything was very old school, not very helpful. And I sort of introduced my team into Trello as just a productivity tool. It really helped. And we evolved from that into Notion. And then for some reason, my company blacklisted the Notion website. So we couldn't use Notion anymore. And I was very hurt by this. I considered quitting after as many years as it was because I just felt like a piece of me was ripped away. And so I had to find an alternative. And so I, was on Twitter asking, what's an alternative to Notion? And Coda came up as an alternative. So I took the deep dive into Coda, and I found the Visual Dev FM podcast through that because they talk a lot about Coda. And through that podcast, I started hearing things like, Webflow and Bubble and all these really no-code tools that I'd never heard of before. And it was very enlightening to me. And even just that term no-code felt like right. It felt like a good fit for me. I was like, yes, that is me. I'm always trying to do piece little things together on the back end. I don't know how to code. I'm just trying to make things work. And that phrase really struck home with me, besides being the name of an album from Pearl Jam, which is a great album as well. So no code is really just kind of like, it fits me as a person. So I started playing around with all the tools I could try. That podcast introduced me to Glide as well, and Glide was good at making little apps. And the town I live in New Jersey, it's not a very big town, but the businesses there don't do a good job of having websites that are either up to date or accessible or helpful, even as a customer. And so there was a local gym that I was a part of, and the website was useless. They were using a third party for booking appointments. And so I said, hey, let me try and make an app that he could use for himself and his members just to see if I can make it. So I made the app. I sent him a cold email. I said, hey, I made you an app. And then he's like, well, I don't really need this, but I am starting a mastermind group in our town for local businesses to kind of help each other. He's like, I need a website for that. So I was like, all right, great. This is a good opportunity for me to learn Webflow, try that out a little bit. And so I used a template from Webflow, a free template, to get started, put a 2-page site together, and I attended the first meeting. And he introduced me as the person who made the website, so I was very proud of that. And I look back on that site now; it's really nothing to write home about, but it was my starting point. And from there, I met someone at that meeting who was looking for a website. And I said, hey, I just need to learn how to make websites. I just need projects to work on. So I volunteered to make this person a site. And I did. And it's still up and running now. And I actually submitted that on the Finsweet critique a couple of, however many months ago that you used to do that. So thank you for spending time for the feedback on that. It was very helpful. I learned a lot. And from there, I just started networking, telling people, hey, I can try and make you a website. I just need some projects to work on. At that point, I was also learning about another website builder called Doric, Doric.io, which is a little more streamlined than Webflow, right? Not as advanced, but really quick at making, landing pages and that sort of thing. So I started finding people that needed, smaller projects, and I was making it through Doric. And again, I have a number of those projects that are live as well, but I kept thinking to myself, the longer I'm not using Webflow, the longer it's going to take me to learn it. So at some point I said, I'm just going to use Webflow from now on. I got a little sidetracked with Bubble as well because I really wanted to make something useful for work. But again, as another no-code tool, I was just trying to get my hands on everything and see what works. What am I good at? What do I connect with? And everything draws me back to Webflow. So eventually I just started focusing on Webflow, focusing on my own projects just to learn and develop the skills. And I had actually reached out to a couple of businesses in my town saying, hey, do you need a website? Some of the more popular businesses that just didn't have an online presence. And I think for them, it was a little overwhelming, the idea of having a website, right? They're worried about how much it might cost. Am I taking advantage of them? Do they, they don't know who I am. Am I doing a good job, right? I think there's just some natural hesitation from someone who doesn't even have a website, who's just a local shop. So I tried to make a couple of websites and said, hey, here's the thing if you want it. And even then I had trouble, getting people to say yes. And my goal for this year was, let me get 5 businesses using, my websites. And I still couldn't do it. So I think that's just, that's where I come from, as my background is not in the sales and pitching area or the convincing of that. But I really think my town would benefit from having just a stronger online presence. And I want to be that guy. I want to be the local guy who helps local businesses. So that's where that, the meaning of that intro is that you read is, I just want to help small businesses where I am the consumer and help benefit and grow my town as well. And so I've continued to work on Webflow projects, building my own portfolio, working on a project now with my friend for an NFT project that we're launching. And so I feel like I'm in a good spot in my learning and my progression. And I just have a long ways to go, but I have a feeling there's a lot of people in a similar situation as me that want to continue to learn more and want to do more in this direction, that just aren't ready to take a deep dive yet and end their current career.
That is such a nice and natural story, this learning while doing, that you didn't make a career change with a snap of your fingers and just change immediately. You thought you wanted it, you tested, you're trying to learn it through doing. I love this. I think this needs to be the story of anybody who wants to make this big career change. Just start doing it. I love this. And I love the revolving around local business and trying to help the local business of your area. I can relate to this a lot. The websites of the area that I live in are just terrible, almost non-existent, to the point where if the website exists, don't even go on it. Like, it's
Yep.
probably not, it's not going to load, or it's not going to be right information, or it's just terrible. So I understand that feeling, and the fact that you want to go and help that and change that, this is huge. This is really, really cool.
Thanks.
People in the audience, if you are doing local business websites, put a comment in this chat. Ask a question, share an experience. Let's talk a little bit more about this. So, Kevin, awesome. I love this story. I really do. Now, can you tell me a little bit about what your next steps are? This is usually later in the show, but I just want to know this is where you are, this is what you're doing. And now, are you looking to leave the hotel industry? Are you looking to make the full jump, or is this always going to be your side project?
That's a good question, Joe. I would love to be able to do Webflow and web design and development full time. I would 100% make that jump if I felt that my expenses were covered to take care of my wife and my kids and my mortgage. So I don't have a very clear path in my head as to what that is, other than just keep developing and keep learning. I think I would imagine my next step would not be as just uh, a solo entrepreneur doing these things, because there's such a wide breadth of things that I am not familiar with in the industry. But I feel that I could put a website together. If you showed me a design, I feel like I could do that. And so maybe joining an agency or contracting for an agency is the next step, to just kind of get my hands into that world and be able to build an even better portfolio and resume.
I think this is going to be a flourishing job position over the next few years. Agencies hiring freelancers that don't want to do all the other things, uh, the sales, the accounting, the payment collection. So we're already seeing this. A lot of agencies are going out and trying to hire really quality people that do this. So I think that's a good strategy. I really like that. I can see you still doing it on the side, doing it on the side until you feel that this is an appropriate jump. That's cool. It's inspiring.
Yeah,
I had so many related feelings when you were talking about just going to a business and saying, "Can I make a website for you? Can I, hey friend, you're doing this project, let me make a website for it." Just trying any experience you can find. Can you talk a little bit more about that? This idea of just approaching somebody for a website. Has this worked for you? Has it not worked for you? Any tips for
sure.
people?
Yeah, I have some success stories and some failure stories of that for sure. I had a friend who I worked with at Hyatt Hotels, and during the peak of the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, you can imagine hotels really got hit hard by that, as they were not being used. And there was a lot of cuts made across my company. And somebody that I worked with from the human resources side started a side gig of offering resume review services. And she put out these really beautiful documents, these PDFs on Facebook. And of course, in my head now that I'm in this web design, web development phase, I'm like, everything could be a website, right? So she had all this great material, this color scheme, these beautiful tables and pricing structure. I was like, oh, this is just begging to be a website. So I took all of it without talking to her. I built it in Doric as a one-page website, and I sent it to her. I said, "Hey, I made this for you. If you want it, it's yours." But I thought this would help, right? This was someone I personally knew who was, unfortunately laid off due to COVID. So I thought this would be maybe a helpful thing. And again, just a way for me to add something to my portfolio. And she was very happy to accept it. I heard from another friend that we had in common that it actually made her cry, because she was just going through such a rough time. So it was really cool to just know that I made a positive impact for someone at a as a positive experience for me to be able to learn to build and develop a website and design that out, and kind of go through those growing pains and challenges myself. So that was a great first experience for me. I have a local bagel shop in my town who I know the owner. My dad knows the owner. They know us by name. He doesn't have a website, and this is one of the best bagel shops in town. And so I go to him and said, "Hey, let me build you a website." He's like, "All right, yeah, let's do it." So I built him something in Webflow, and he just wasn't that into it. So I said, "All right, let me try again." So I redesigned it, completely different user experience, trying to take into account who the customer is and what they're trying to do, and still just didn't make much progress on it. He kind of ghosted me, just not getting back to me. And even though I see him on a regular basis, maybe I get bagels once a week. It's not that big of a deal. But so I still see him there. And, it's just like unspoken that he just hasn't gotten back to me. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong that I can't give this guy a free website that I think is quality, is better than nothing. And I just can't make that connection for some reason. And similarly, there's someone that I used to work with in the hotel industry who lives in my town. They opened a gelato shop. I said, hey, you don't have a website. Let me make you a website. So I designed it, just did the whole homepage for free, showed it to them. We've had a couple of meetings, and then again, just kind of ghosting me. And it's not like they have another website. They just don't seem that interested in it. I feel like I'm more passionate about it than they are because I'm taking it on as like a project that I want to do well. So I'm kind of dealing with both sides of that.
Isn't that funny how you can make a free website for somebody and they still reject it? It's
Yeah,
that's
it's
wild to me.
frustrating.
That's happened to me several times, right? Every story
Yeah,
that you told, I'm thinking back, yeah, I had one of those. I had one of those. But it happens, right? I don't know why, but some people just do not want to get into the web presence game. Game's not the right word, but the web, just have a web presence, right?
right,
He wants to focus on bagels. That's it. Like, I don't want to think about anything else but making
right.
great bagels. So yeah, this is challenging. I'm sure very frustrating, right? You spent a lot of time. You wanted to see this project live. It would help your portfolio more if it was live. But I have to ask, was this crucial in your learning of Webflow? Did you build these sites and feel like you got the full experience building for a client?
In many ways, yes. They didn't have like a previous site design, so I was kind of building from scratch and looking, doing a little bit of research of what do other competitors do, looking online for inspiration, and sort of building my own mood board. And I can tell you that each time I've gone to the clients from the design side on any of the sites I build, they were happy with it. And that's where I feel like my ability to understand people really helps me out here because I understand what they're trying to accomplish, the voice that they're trying to use, the experience they're trying to give for the most part. And so I learn how to build the website. That experience of actually building something and to accomplish something is the most valuable takeaway for me. It'd be great to have this site up live and running, but knowing that I was able to make this work the way that I wanted is huge for me. And there's an incredible sense of empowerment for me as someone who has no background, no training in this, just trying to do it on my own, watching YouTube videos, asking questions, saying, "Yeah, look, I did the thing I wanted to do, and I'm proud of that. Even if no one ever sees it, I'm proud of the accomplishment that I made there."
That's a big one. And you get that a lot in Webflow. I don't think you get that working with Excel documents, but you get that with Webflow, right? You're able to do something creative, you're able to do something valuable, and that just feels good, whether or not it goes live or not. Good question from Pablo Cortez. Pablo says, Kevin, thanks for sharing your story. Have you ever considered building templates for hotels based on your experiences and knowledge? And I'll
That
also
is a
add
good,
to that question, just working with hotels, like hotel websites. So templates and hotel websites.
yeah, that's a good question. I work for a very large international company, so they don't need me to make their website, right? They already exist across the world. Um, Are there some internal tools that I am constantly pushing for them to improve? Because I think from an automation and from a design perspective, they can be better because it's a very different type of person designing the internal tool. So I've actually had a lot of impact and progress from an internal side of things, from a human resources division where I can say, hey, this would be a better experience if we did it this way. And my company is very receptive to that, which I'm proud of. From another hotel company standpoint, I've not approached anyone or really thought about it. I only know these big companies that I currently work for, right? So definitely an opportunity, I think, and probably some good street cred to say, hey, I know what your business is like, and sorry, 1 second.
Nice. I like that. Kevin is looking for the phone. Let's bring up a question. Let's bring up a question here from. Oh, Kevin back. Nice.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Apologies.
Yeah, no
Um,
problem.
so yeah, I think there's definitely an opportunity to break into that for some smaller independent hotels.
Nice. We We do a lot of hotel websites at Finsweet. We've done over 100 in the past
Wow.
year or two. But these are more resort vacationy hotels, like beautiful beach sand hotels.
Yeah.
Um, Overall, I think the hotel industry does not have a good web presence. Overall, maybe I'm sure the big companies do, right? The big companies got serious systems, but when you look at the whole hospitality industry, I think overall is pretty underdeveloped in the web
Yeah.
world. Do you agree with
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I
Nice.
do. That's a fair observation. And again, I think it goes back to probably people using very basic websites or WordPress things combined just to say, I just need somebody to be able to make a reservation and get here, and that's it. They're not worried about
Yeah.
really selling themselves from a marketing, from a copywriting standpoint. They just want people to be able to book, and that's what their main concern is.
Let's bring up this comment from Penny. Let's see how we feel about this. I like it. Penny says small local businesses often do well because everybody already knows them and they don't see value in a website. They just don't care that much. So they just care about the history that they've had with the business, the connections they've already made. They don't need to attract new people. Do you see that too, Kevin? Is this
Absolutely.
you
It's
saying
it's
yes?
painful though, because I think their audience and their consumers aren't the same way. I can tell you if I'm looking for a Chinese restaurant and I click on the website and I can't see the menu, I'm not ordering from there. Like I'm just not.
Oh my gosh. It's the story of my
So
life.
you're right, Penny, that they've been in business for 40 years. Why do they need a website now? But I think it's hard to explain or get across what they're missing out on.
Yeah, it's so true. Man, Kevin, you just gave me flashbacks. Every week I face this problem. They just don't. I live in Merida, Mexico, and the web presence here is close to non-existent. Usually, when I'm searching for a business, my first place is Facebook. Like
Hmm,
that's what people consider their website, their presence, or Instagram.
absolutely. Yep,
So really
absolutely.
interesting, right? I mean, that's so far from the world that we live in, building websites every day, and just having this idea that anything could be a website. You made that comment in the beginning. You see a PDF, you see an email, you see whatever. That could be a website. Billboard, that could be a website.
Yeah, it's like, when you're a hammer, everything's a nail.
Yeah. Yep. Nice. Okay, Kevin, let's now show two pieces of work that you are interested in, or that you are proud of. Sorry.
Sure.
We're going to be interested in it. So let's go to the screen share part. And Kevin, walk us through some of your work here.
All right, I'm going to show you one that I made for a friend who runs a business. So I said, hey, do you need a website? And I can tell you, I was inspired to reach out to him because recently on Twitter, I think it's Matt Varhees, one of the hosts from Visual Dev FM, made a post about how he reached out to Hassan Minaj, the comedian, and said, "Hey, do you need a website?" And it was just a cold email, and it worked. So I was like, "Oh, that's so good to get up on a big stage like that." So I reached out to my friend who has a bit of a platform, and I said, "Hey, do you need a website?" And he said, well, this project of mine could use something. So just this week I finished just the homepage of it, but I'm proud of the way it came out, and it was my first time playing with attributes, so it worked. And so I thought that'd be a good one to share. So let
Awesome.
me know if you can see my screen here. Can you
Yeah.
see my screen?
Nice. Yep.
Okay. So my friend runs a wrestling organization in New Jersey, and so playing around with the background video here, right? So this is a website called WrestlePro, and so I know there's some spacing and padding issues over here. Just not fixed that yet, but I like the way that this hero section looked, and what I was really proud of is that it was different from all the other hero sections I've ever made. It still accomplishes what it needs to accomplish, and it's just a different layout than some of the standard image on the left, text on the right sort of thing. And nice little hover interaction over here for the buy tickets with a few divs moving back and forth there. As I scroll down, this is the CMS, the attribute slider. So these are just some YouTube videos on the slider here from the attributes. Then down in the upcoming events section here, He was telling me that he wants to transition to using Eventbrite, and Webflow, plays well with Eventbrite. So I was able to kind of just integrate a little section here for when you click buy tickets, it'll show the Eventbrite there. I'm also using the Finsweet social share. So, clicking on the Twitter for the check out this upcoming WrestlePro event. So I was proud of myself again that I was able to kind of put those things together. I'd recently tweeted out, if you're intimidated by attributes, don't be. And it's because I was just afraid to kind of step into that. And I did it twice here, and it just kind of worked pretty easily. So thank you for that. And I was happy with that. A little news section here for some news articles. A little plug here for their training school. Again, this little hover interaction that I am proud of. And then I took a Elf Site Instagram embed over here to just kind of show the slider here for Instagram posts. And then newsletter sign up here, and then just a little footer. So, I think if you look at what they currently have, it's a lot better. It's a huge increase. And I'm going to switch back to looking at you here. I also, as part of that, I was looking at other wrestling websites, right? From the biggest ones, from WWE to to some of the other ones, and they're not doing a great job either. some of those big sites. So I told him that he would objectively have the nicest wrestling website if he wanted to move forward with that. So waiting to hear next steps on that one.
Awesome. That's great. Of course, I love the jump into attributes. I'm glad that you were able to implement it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's great to feel proud about a website. And I think that website accomplishes exactly what needs to be accomplished. You get the visuals, you get clear buy buttons, clear CTA, clear content. So yeah, nailed it. Great job. And I'm sure your friend's happy.
He's happy so far. So we'll keep going, and I will be sure to share what that looks like done so far. And then I'll share one other site with you, if that's okay.
Yes.
All right. So this is the NFT project that my friend Miguel and my partner Miguel and I are working on. So this is an NFT project called Rebel Ants. I know, Joe, you recently mentioned that you're not really into the NFT space, so that's okay. Still encourage you to check it out. We begin minting live on October 31st. So next week, or just about that, will be live, but this is the build-up site for it. So again, this is one of those times where I was proud to be able to build a product that I needed for myself. I didn't have to go outsource it to someone else. So there's a lot of cool things in here I just want to point out that are just straight up influences from the community of Webflow. So here we have our horizontal scroll. Sorry, not the horizontal scroll, the marquee here. This I learned from one of the Pixel Geek tutorials, right? And it's just kind of sitting there real nice. Over here is just a little bit about section. And then here's this cool hover effect that I learned from one of the Web Dev for You tutorials. And so I'm proud of that one as well. And then same effect when we look at our team pictures over here. It's just a really nice effect that I picked up. We've got our horizontal scroll here for our roadmap. And this is from the Webflow University sites. I was able to pick that up. We are partnering with One Tree Planted. It's an organization that will plant one tree for every $1. So our commitment to them and to our future stakeholders is that for every transaction we make, every sale we make, we'll plant a tree. So we're excited to do that. And then here is our FAQ. And this was something I learned from a tutorial from Grace Walker's YouTube video. So thank you to Grace for that. And then as we get to the bottom here, our footer, this layout was really pulled from the Reloom library. Not that I use Reloom, but from their Figma file, I was able to kind of just take the inspiration for that from the design there and put that together. So what I wanted to showcase on this site to our audience here is that, take inspiration from where you can and put it together, and you can make something that looks nice. And again, something you can be proud of there.
Awesome. Very cool. I love how you called out all the places you learned each effect from. I learned this from Pixel Geek, this from Web Dev for You, this from Grace. That's cool. It's like giving attribution to everybody as you're presenting the site. That's cool. So self-learning. Let's touch on this again. You're a self-learner. How do you pick the different content? How do you choose which content to watch? Right? There's so much content out there. You need to learn how to do this. You're learning on the go. How do you find what to watch next?
That is a good question, Joe. And sometimes it feels like there's not enough content, and sometimes it feels like there's too much content, right? It's kind of the ebb and flow of following in this, following everything on YouTube, and as there's more and more creators. So I don't filter out too much. I'll watch things even in other languages because you're really just watching what's happening on the screen. The the commentary is helpful, but watching what's happening on the screen is really the most important. So, of course, there are some of the bigger names on YouTube, such as, the videos that you guys do and Pixel Geek and even Charlie Marie TV. She doesn't, I don't think she explicitly uses client first, but she does these really long streams about building, and you watch her try and figure those things out too. And that to me is always the most valuable learning, is watching other people learn from those mistakes and those challenges. So I don't filter much out. Most of my consumption is through YouTube, but then there's also just the Reddit, or the subreddit rather, for Webflow and web design, and then there's the Facebook group. And then sometimes I'll use the Webflow forum itself, but I've not had great experiences there. A little righteousness that I don't benefit from. So I try and stick to the places where I know that I'm able to get help from when I run into questions.
And you usually find the content on a need to know basis. So are you sitting down and saying, "Hey, I'm going to watch a 5-hour course about how to build a page in Webflow," or are you more, "Hey, I need to do a cool hero effect. Like, let me search cool hero effects and like watch a video from Web Dev for You Interactions."
Yeah,
How do
that's
you
a good
how
question.
do you do that? Okay.
So generally, anytime I start learning about a new tool, whether it was Bubble or Glide or Webflow, I want to watch everything so I can understand the scope of it, right? What can it do, so that when it's time for me to figure out what I want to do, I can know, is it possible within there, right? Have I seen someone do that thing before? And then I really know, okay, this is the platform that can do that. Then I can dive into it and say, hey, how do I do this specific thing in there? What I do in YouTube is I have a lot of different playlists. So I have a playlist for each site that I've made, because I'll look at those little interactions, those micro interactions, or those lessons, and then save it to that playlist for the site that I want to use it for. So I have, 10 different playlists called site, my portfolio, or site Rebel Ants, or site WrestlePro. And there I'll save into those interactions where what I want to pull from when it's time to start building.
Nice. Great strategy. That's cool. I've never
Thanks.
organized tutorials like that. I love it. Great. Okay. Let's now move on in the show. We're talking story, we're talking work history. I would like to now ask you, what what do you do well? What is something that you consider a strength of yours, and how has that helped you get to this position in your professional career?
Yeah, good question. I I try to I deal with imposter syndrome a lot, whether it's my real full-time job or my side job, right? It's hard to say that I am a web developer when, I've just kind of messed around with these things, hours on end, and, consumed endless amounts of content. But I know that I can build websites, but it feels hard to say that I just introduce myself as that, right? So there's definitely that sense of imposter syndrome. But what I am good at is putting myself out there and just trying to get that exposure, whether it's exposure to put myself out there or exposure to consume additional content and learn and grow that way. I mean, being here, I'm sure Victoria can tell you that at first I applied for this, and then she said, "Hey, we're interested." I said, "I don't think I have much to offer based on the quality of the other guests that you've had on here." And she brought up a good point, that that's the point, right? That we're not here just for the top agencies and top producers. So um, putting myself out here, putting myself out to learn other things. I've gone to meetups of Notion meetups. I've gone to Coda meetups. I've gone to Webflow meetups. I went to the Webflow meetup in New York City a couple of months ago. It was me and the organizer, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, New York City, I would think, has a pretty large population of web developers using Webflow, and I could not believe it was just him and I. I was disappointed, as honestly. It's really shocking.
That is, wow, 2 people, New York City. So
Yeah,
that means either people don't wanna go and meet in person anymore, or it wasn't advertised enough. There's gotta
yeah,
be many people in New York City or the surrounding area for that. But
yeah.
hey, cool. So you met one person, right? You
And
had a
it
great
helped.
time with one person.
it,
Yeah.
it honestly helped. Again, I try and take away something from every one of those interactions. My
Nice.
personal portfolio website, it was looking very different than it does now. And he brought up some good points, just kind of making some observations, because I don't really get to talk to too many other people that are web developers in person, because that's just not the world I run in, right? I have my
Yeah.
my wife and my kids, and we do a lot of baseball, we do a lot of karate, and then I have my work, and we do a lot of hotels. So there's not a lot of interaction with web design and development people, and that's where I think I definitely have a lot of room to grow, is to expand those horizons.
Let's bring up a comment from Dale. This is so true. Dale says, Kevin, the perseverance and excitement of your journey is inspiring. I love your go for it attitude and your constant attitude of learning. I totally agree with this, Dale. This is so true. And it's true in what you just said, Kevin, that just putting yourself out there, just being on Twitter, coming on this show, talking to people, interacting with people. This is the go for it attitude. And it's a winning attitude. It's great. You put the go for it attitude with talent, with some knowledge, and it's a home run. So great. I agree with that, Dell. Thanks for that nice comment.
Thank you.
And let's see. Let's talk about Finsweet quotes right now. So I'll start with this story. Finsweet quotes, actually, first, Kevin, I should say, do you prefer that I call it effin' sweet quotes or Finsweet quotes?
I like Finsweet.
Finsweet quotes, great. Maybe like 6 months ago, 8 months ago, 10 months ago, I don't know. I see a post, my quote on a random Twitter profile called Finsweet Quotes. I'm like, what the hell is this? Who did this? And I'm like messaging people at Finsweet. Did we start a quotes Twitter? And we didn't start a quotes Twitter. So this was Kevin that created this Twitter account and was posting quotes that I made in live streams or any of our live streams. If there was a good quote, Kevin posted it. And I remember asking Kevin in a DM, "Who are you? Like who is this account?" And Kevin would not tell me who it was. So just a few weeks ago when I heard, "Hey, the Finsweet quotes person wants to come on Community Day." I'm like, "Hell yeah, let's get him on for sure. Who is it? What's his name?" And yeah, that was really cool. So it's nice that you just put yourself out there. You didn't ask for permission. You didn't do anything. Like you just did it, and it was cool. Created a Twitter account, Finsweet Quotes, posting things. So why'd you do that? What was the? Give us a little story behind that.
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I remember listening back to one of the episodes where it was either you or Rymar said, do something for the community, right? Maybe you're not making videos, but find something that you can contribute to the community if you want to be a part of the community. And again, with my imposter syndrome, thinking, hey, I'm not the guy to make the YouTube videos yet, but what can I do, right? I consume a lot of content, right? On my commute, on my whatever, throughout, when I'm food shopping, I'm constantly listening or watching things. So I was listening to all of the fins, F and grows, for as they were coming out, and I'd hear these one-liners like, "Oh man, that's good," right? Like I got to remember that, right? So I started using the podcast app called Air, AIRR, and you can take snippets of a podcast and it transcribes it. So I was like, all right, I have this in text. Let me share this out from doing that. So as I listen to those podcasts, I just click the little button to capture the quote and it transcribes it. Then I can just easily, copy that and put it into, I use Coda actually to tweet those out because it lets me format it the right way with putting the links and all that stuff. It tells me the character count. And then there's a little button right inside of Coda that I just hit tweet this. So I just thought those were good things for me, good lessons for me to learn and to remember. And maybe there's other people out there who could benefit from those. Maybe they didn't listen to those podcasts or streams as they happened. Maybe it was a long time ago, which it feels like a long time ago now, even though it's really not that long ago, but it feels like a long time ago. And those are just good evergreen lessons that are worth sharing.
That's great. So cool. So it just started out as some personal organization. Let me
That's right.
remember these quotes, and then it goes and tweets out. I love that. That's uh, anytime that I see some fan art or fan initiative or like anybody supporting Finsweet in that way, it makes me very happy. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I love seeing that. And yeah, I was excited when I heard you were coming on. You know, I thought it was like a Batman kind of thing where you find out who Batman is.
Yeah,
So
just
yeah, that's great. Cool.
well, I appreciate you not putting a stop to it.
Yeah, no, 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 of course not. I think we asked to like change the the thumbnail or something, or I forgot, but yeah,
Yeah, it was the
I
header,
was
the
100%
logo.
for it. The header. Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice.
Good.
All right, let's move to the part of the show where we talk about advice. So you've shared so much about your journey in learning Webflow, teaching yourself, reaching out to local businesses to make websites, the go for it attitude, the just finding a way to enjoy yourself and be proud of your work. So, for people who want to look at you for advice, for people that want to follow your journey to make a career change, to start working with more businesses, what advice can you give to people?
Sure. So a couple parts, a couple of thoughts on that. One is if you're not doing this full time already, don't underestimate the ancillary skills that you are learning from being in this world. I mean, I don't need to do web development at work, but the focus on design is really valuable, right? I am in HR, I'm constantly sending out flyers and posts, and the fact that they look good is noticeable by my staff. They notice the difference that, oh wow, that's a cool flyer. That's your best flyer yet. And I put a lot of time and attention into those things, utilizing those skills of typography and copywriting and design, right? I would not have learned Figma if not for Webflow. And now I get to do things in Figma for work that people don't know I'm using Figma, but it's extremely helpful for me to put out the brand that I want to put out from my human resources department, right? I want to present myself well. And all these skills really help me and they help me stand out in my work. So, separate from web design, being in this space has really helped me in my primary job. So, don't underestimate what you're learning or what skills you're building from there. And then I think the other thing is it's okay to just build for you, right? Maybe you don't have a project, but you watched an interaction video and it looked cool or it looked hard. And it's okay to just try and recreate that yourself, right? I mean, the Web Dev for You channel has like 160 interactions. Just go build one of those interactions each day and you will be so much more comfortable after just a week, right? I think the biggest turning point for me from being comfortable building was when I'm watching these tutorials and I can anticipate what they're going to do next or anticipate how they're going to achieve the thing that they're saying, hey, we're going to build this cool section or cool whatever, right? When I realized that I knew what they were going to do next, that's when I was like, oh, I think I get it, right? You know, there's a lot more to get, but like I get it. I get what's going on here. I feel like I'm starting to understand. So, you know, trying to get to that level and setting those micro goals for yourself is really going to help you feel confident that yeah, there's a huge world out there of Webflow and web development that I don't even understand, right? You know, things with GSAP, things you guys are doing, things that, you know, Timothy Ricks is doing, that's way above me. But where I'm at now, I feel good about making my little progress, right? Attributes was next on my list, and now I'll move on from there.
That is wonderful. I'm going to start at the top of that answer, talking about the extra things that we learn inside this industry, even if we're not doing it full time. So I'll reiterate that the the fact that just that we're making websites, the fact that we're in this industry, we are learning skills that can be valuable anywhere. They can be valuable in other jobs, in your personal life, in your family life, whatever. I I find myself sometimes doing if else statements just in my random day. It's like, if this happens, then we're going to do this. But then if this happens, if this, and if none of those things happen, then we'll do this. I'm like, damn, geez, it's just a little
Yeah.
tiny piece, but I find myself doing that and having just a little bit more organization to my thoughts because I know a little bit about how code works. So this is valuable. The sales side of it, the marketing side of it, that little tiny extra bit of design that gives you that edge, that next level in your HR documents. It's beautiful. I love that. And I
Yeah.
really I want everybody to think about this. If you're doing it full-time or part-time, what skills have you learned in this industry that are helping you outside, that are helping you in something other than this industry? So, Kevin, I love that statement. Had me thinking a lot. So that's a really
Great.
good piece of advice. Yeah. Anything else to say about that? Any other comments towards that?
Just a quick anecdote as it pertains to Airtable. We found ourselves in a situation at work where we had to email 100 people their paychecks, like the pay stub, for whatever reason, right? And someone said, "Oh my God, do I have to send 100 emails?" And I said, "Hold on, let me think about this, right? Like, there's got to be a solution out there." So first, I was thinking, can we do it in Coda? So I reached out to my online friend, the Coda guy, Scott, who's extremely helpful and generous. And he's like, you can't do it in Coda, but you can do it in Airtable. And I've already used Airtable for just various things messing around. And so, for me to go back to my team and say, hey guys, don't worry, there's an easy solution for this. There's an easy automation for this, and let them do it. It just kind of really bridges that gap of having that exposure or just kind of knowing what's out there and then looking again, being that hammer looking for nails. It's like, oh, we can use no code for that, no problem.
It's almost as if there is a solution for every big business problem. Any kind of big business that has some issue and they don't really know how to handle it and they're doing it just the old way, there's probably some updated solution. Maybe it's not a one click, you're done solution, but there is something now built for what you are looking to achieve.
Exactly.
And I don't think a lot of people understand that until they get into this industry. Because that's a lot of us are really good at looking for tools, looking for how can I do this? How can I do this? Right? You become almost like a master in Googling from this industry,
Right.
trying to
Right.
figure out how do I get the right keywords so I can figure out what I'm trying to understand here. So yeah, this is great. Yeah, that's a really nice anecdote. Let's bring up some comments. Penny says, I love the ownership that Kevin takes in his work for an employer. That's hugely valuable. Yeah, I agree. Kevin, I think you're a good employee. Like, I have this feeling from this whole talk that you're just a quality employee. You care and you show up to do a good job. Is that true?
It's so true, and you can see behind me that I'm highly decorated in what I do. Um, I think it comes down to I am a little more technology inclined than pretty much anyone else I work for, right? So I am looking for those opportunities. But what I really want to do, especially from a human resources standpoint, is free people up from doing all the administrative work so they can spend more time helping people, right? If you're stuck at your desk all day running reports or sending out 100 emails of paychecks, that's going to take hours away from the other things that it takes to connect with people. And I want to alleviate my fellow HR colleagues of that burden.
It breaks my heart when I see somebody doing something in such an outdated way. Uh, there are a lot of businesses in my local area that manage their books by just pen and paper.
Yep.
So you buy something and they're just writing it down on a piece of paper with the total, the items purchased, and the quantities, whatever is needed. And
Yep.
I'm just a lot of times I go there, I'm like, do you guys know about Airtable? I don't say that because I know they don't and they wouldn't be interested, but that's what this should be. You should just have a free Airtable account and you can do this even from your phone.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. How do you help these people adopt these new ways of thinking, these new tools? Like, because not everybody wants to jump in, as we talked about earlier. So what are some tactics you use to get people okay with this?
So I make some explainer videos at work. I call it my Learning with Kevin series. So they're typically short Loom videos or Microsoft Streams because we have Microsoft access. So I'll make some videos. There's the HR world is very cyclical, right? So certain times of the year you're doing this thing, right? Whether it's for taxes or benefits, whatever it is, right? So when it's that time, I'm always looking for the better way to do it than whatever was passed on to me. So when I find that, I'll make a video of that and I'll send it out, and then usually I'll get some questions. Oh, hey, can you show me how to do that? One of these examples is, this is so silly, is every month we email out a list of whose birthday is coming up and whose anniversary it is at work. That is typically a very long process of trying to figure out whose birthday it is and whose anniversary it is this month. But I created a template in Excel where you can just kind of copy and paste, and then the formulas are just there. So I shared that template out and I made a video of how to do it. And now people are just, it's a 3-minute process now instead of the 30, 45-minute process before, trying to figure out whose birthday is coming up and what anniversary it is. So I think when they see it in action, they're like, oh, that's it. Then they're inclined to get some more info.
See it in action. That's how you have to do it. That's the easiest way to sell anything. You can talk about something for hours, but if you see something for 10 seconds, that could be what sells you.
100%.
So, like you're talking about like a Loom recording, right? Recording your screen, recording your face. Hey, learning with Kevin. Great. This is crucial. I think you can do this with anything, right? Of course, you can do it with your clients and show them something design related or website related. You can do it to onboard people to technology. I think you can also do it just for everyday things. Like a family member needs help with something on the computer. Film a video, right? It's outside of your normal work videoing,
Yep.
but just do a quick Loom or whatever software you use. That kind of hands-on learning is really important. So do you see yourself as an educator, a future educator in the no code space? Because it sounds like in your current position, people are they're seeing you as a bit of an educator. So how is this going to transition as you maybe do a little bit more in the no code space?
Yeah. I constantly envision myself getting there from an online perspective. At some point I was going to make a YouTube channel called like Productive Hospitality, where I kind of show these things from a hospitality industry standpoint, how no code tools can help. But I think COVID happened then, and everything kind of got distracted. But I think about that from a Webflow perspective. When some of the things even I showed you is, I know there's videos out there for that, but maybe just the one way that I'm doing it is a little different. An example is, most of the YouTube videos about the marquee infinite scroll are going one direction, and I had to try and figure out how to make it go the other direction. And that took me a while. That was one of those things where I woke up in the middle of the night. I was like, oh, I need to left align it or right align it from a different div. And I woke up, I was like, that's how you do it. And I put it to work and it worked. And I was like, okay, that could be a video, because somebody could need to know how to do a marquee the other way than most of the marquees are. So I would like to get to that point where I'm sharing that information. And going back to the NFT project that my friend and I are making, we're going to be doing a podcast and video show of how we're building this, right? And part of that will be me going through the website of how did we build the website, how do we build the NFT project from the ground up? Because the idea of the rebel ants is that we're the little guy, right? The ants, we're the little guy. We're not funded by anyone. We're doing this ourselves. He's the artist. I'm the web designer, and we're doing it ourselves. And we want to show other people, how can you do this too if you're into it?
Yeah, you have educator feelings flowing through your body. It's for sure. I mean, I know that if you continue with no code in this industry, we will start seeing some videos from you.
Yeah.
I have that feeling. That's great. I love that. I think a lot of people want to learn from real experiences, right? Everything that you're telling me you educate about is based on real experiences. Uh,
Exactly.
I I'm building this NFT project, and this is how we're building it. Real experience. This
Yeah.
is the The technology I'm trying to onboard you to, this is my experience in using it. Powerful. Love it. Okay, we have 6 minutes left. Let's talk just briefly about challenges and your next steps. We kind of talked about this, but like next 6 months, what are we seeing from you?
I would like to do some more big scale sites. The free Webflow plan lets you do 2 pages, and so that's where I'm typically starting or trying to pitch to someone as these 2 pages. But I'd really like to get into bigger scale sites. I want to put your filters, the filters attribute to use on a large scale. I want to be able to do bigger projects, even just for smaller companies. I just want to be able to start thinking in a larger scope than just the landing page or the 2 pages. So that's what I'd like to get to next. I think in terms of my challenges, I'm intimidated by the idea as a freelancer of the implications for tax things, right? If as I'm making money, I've made a few $100s off of some of these sites, and I've just put that back to get a better laptop or whatever it is. But if I was really making bigger money, I probably need some contracts. I need some lawyer. I need some client billing set up, right? That's all in the orb around just the developing. And so I am a little intimidated by taking that step a little big, to those outer rings of that orb, which is why I think maybe working for an agency is a little better intro to that.
Nice. The taking that step, creating forming a business, getting a couple of legal things done. I think it's something that you should do at some point in the future. Even if you're working for other agencies, it's good to be under that type of business. And it's, from my experience, it's not that bad. I also don't like this stuff. I don't like doing the legal side of it or the taxing side of it and all this. It's the worst part of everything. But it's worth it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure that as you progress, you'll make the whatever decision is best for you there. But that's great that you're now at the point where you have to think about this, right? It's kind of cool that you even got to this where you have to make this decision of
Right.
exactly how to move forward with it. I know a lot of people try to start and they just never get to that position, and they get frustrated. They get a little sad, and then they end and they finish. So congratulations to you. That's great.
Thanks.
With the next 2 minutes of this show, you can say how the community can help you. What can the community do to just make you happy, help you professionally, personally, whatever?
All right. First, go follow Finsweet Quotes on Twitter. That would be great. But secondly, I think the idea, back to helping the little guy, is take a chance on freelancers who are passionate, right? Maybe their passion exceeds the skill that you're looking for, but I would love for somebody to find a way to take a chance on me like that, right? There was an agency that just posted that they're hiring. I think it's Hedrix, maybe is how you say it. And they're looking for people with custom code skills. And it's like, I don't know how to do that, but I could definitely build in Webflow, but I don't know how to do custom code. So take a chance on the people who have the passion, the desire to learn, who are willing to learn, maybe don't have the existing skills now, but give them that chance to kind of show what they're capable of and what they're willing to do.
I've just shared your portfolio. We've shared it twice. We have a double post of your portfolio in the chat here, a bunch of links also inside the description. So if you're an
Thank you.
agency owner or you're a freelancer or anything and you think that you may want to work with Kevin, reach out, send a message, even if it's not right now, right? Even if it's, hey, maybe in the future, in like 3 or 4 months, I see maybe something happening. I
Yeah.
can't speak for your Webflow development skills. I haven't seen a project that you built, the inside, but I can say that you seem like a great person. I said earlier that you just seem like a good employee. So
Thanks.
that's, I mean, for me, that's most of it. Okay. So Kevin, is there any final words that you want to say to the audience before we sign off today?
Now, I would like to thank all the creators who are out there putting their time and attention into that, because that's really helping all the people that you don't see, right? Maybe you see the view count, but there's a lot, there's a human person behind that view count who's using or gaining that information. So please keep doing it.
Awesome. Thank you. And you can do a little bit of that by liking this video, thumbs upping the video. As we get more thumbs up, the video gets showed to more people get to meet Kevin and watch Finsweet videos. So everybody wins. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for watching this live. Thank you to all the future viewers. And Kevin, thank you to you for sharing your story. I really enjoyed this talk today.
Thanks, Joe. Me too. Appreciate it.
Awesome. We'll see you tomorrow to work with GSAP. We will be live with Finsweet CTO, Alex Iglesias, to cover GSAP inside Webflow from a super pro developer. I'm excited for that one. See you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern. Thanks, everyone.